There's a crack deep inside you, subtle but unmistakable, like the ground beneath your feet beginning to fracture. Not with noise or force, but with a quiet shift that unsettles everything you thought was certain. It's not a thunderous collapse, but a slow unraveling, a gentle pulling apart of the familiar foundation beneath your feet. This crack challenges the solidity of your beliefs, the stories you've held onto tightly, the truths you have worn like armor. You might want to ignore it, to distract yourself with familiar routines or thoughts, to clutch harder to the identity and understanding you've built. But there's something inside that won't let you turn away. It calls you to notice, to feel, to acknowledge the shifting beneath the surface. What you once believed to be reality, the world you've constructed inside your mind with its judgments, fears, hopes, and certainties, is not as fixed or as reliable as you imagined. The lens through which you see everything is cracked, warped by old wounds, distorted by patterns that have long outlived their usefulness. This lens shapes your perception, coloring every moment, every interaction, every thought, trapping you within a limited view of life. And yet, what if this lens, this veil of perception, could soften? What if, instead of struggling to hold it firm, you allowed it to gently dissolve? What if beneath the noise, beneath the defenses and the protective walls you've built, there lies a stillness, a place untouched by blame, fear, or the need to be right? The tension you feel right now is this fragile space just before everything changes. It's the breath held between the ending of one story and the beginning of another. It's uncomfortable because it asks you to step into the unknown, to loosen your grip on what you thought you needed to survive. It's fragile because it asks you to trust something unseen, to listen to a whisper rather than a shout. And it's thus full of possibility because within this tension lies the doorway to freedom, not freedom as escape, but freedom as awakening to a deeper truth beyond the stories you've been telling yourself. You cannot force this shift or rush it. It must be met with patience, presence, and openness. You can only breathe into the discomfort, hold it gently without resistance, and be willing to listen, truly listen to the quiet voice inside that says, there is another way to see, another way to be. This moment, suspended between fear and hope, between what was and what could be, is the first step toward a new way of living, a new way of seeing, a new way of being. It's an invitation to lean into vulnerability, to release the desperate need for control, and to meet uncertainty with courage. In this space, you begin to recognize that the old stories no longer serve you, that the armor you wore so fiercely has become a cage. And as the crack widens, as the veil thins, you glimpse the possibility of a different world, a world held not by fear, but by trust, not by separation, but by connection, not by scarcity, but by abundance. This is the place where transformation begins quietly, without fanfare, without demand. It asks nothing of you except to be present, to breathe, and to allow the old to fall away naturally, like leaves in the wind. Here, you discover a profound truth, that beneath the surface of everything you thought was real lies a vast, unchanging peace. It is always there, waiting patiently, inviting you home. This is the beginning of a journey, a subtle, inward journey that asks you to soften your gaze, to listen to the quiet spaces between thoughts, to feel what you have been avoiding. It is a call to wake up from the trance of certainty and to embrace the mystery that life really is. It asks you to step out of the comfortable prison of your stories and into a wider, freer space where possibility breathes and expands beyond measure. You may feel fear, resistance, even anger at the thought of letting go of everything you thought defined you. These feelings are natural, for you are standing at the edge of what you know, looking into the unknown. But trust that this edge is not a precipice to fall from, but a doorway to step through. It is an invitation to rediscover your true nature, not as a collection of judgments and fears, but as something vast, limitless, and deeply alive. In this space of not knowing, you find the courage to be present with yourself fully, without defense or distraction. And in that presence, the veil begins to lift, not all at once, but petal by petal, breath by breath. You begin to see that the world is not a place to survive, but a place to awaken, a canvas waiting for the light of a new vision, a new story, a new way of being that is free from the confines of fear. This is the tension before the shift, the sacred pause before transformation. It is both fragile and fierce, quiet and powerful. It is the place where true freedom begins, not as an escape, but as a return to what has always been there, waiting patiently beneath the surface. Here, in the space of breath and stillness, the impossible becomes possible. The cracked lens softens, the veil thins, the heart opens, and the journey begins. The moment before the shift is not just a fracture, it is also an invitation, an opening, gentle but profound, that calls you to reconsider everything you thought you knew. It asks you to pause and question the stories you have been living by, the patterns that have shaped your fears and your desires. This invitation does not demand immediate answers or certainty. Instead, it offers a space of curiosity, a quiet encouragement to look beyond the surface and see with fresh eyes. To see not through the lens of judgment or separation, but through a vision softened by openness and wonder. It asks you to release the need to be right, the need to control outcomes, and instead to surrender to the flow of what is. To step back from the frantic grasping and allow life to unfold in its own time and way. This invitation is not easy because it means stepping into the unknown, where old maps no longer work and familiar signposts disappear. It is the moment when the mind resists, whispering doubts and fears, clinging to what seems certain. Yet, beyond this resistance lies a deeper knowing, a still voice inside that reminds you that your current story is only one way of seeing, not the only truth. It calls you to listen more deeply, to sense the possibility that lies beneath appearances, to remember that what you experience is shaped by your perception, and that perception can change. This shift in seeing is not about ignoring reality or pretending the world is different than it is. It is about uncovering the layers that distort your vision, the fears, the judgments, the limiting beliefs, and meeting them with compassion and courage. It is a gentle unfolding, a peeling back of illusions to reveal a clearer, wider view. In this new way of seeing, you begin to notice moments of connection where before there was separation, sparks of peace where before there was turmoil, and a softening of the boundaries that kept you apart from yourself and others. You realize that the walls you have built to protect yourself can also imprison you, and that true safety arises not from holding tight, but from allowing trust to grow. This invitation asks you to be patient with yourself, to recognize that transformation is not a destination, but a process, sometimes slow, sometimes subtle, sometimes marked by setbacks and confusion. It invites you to meet yourself with kindness as you navigate this uncharted territory, to honor your fears while also daring to step beyond them. As you respond to this invitation, you begin to sense that the world is not a fixed, hostile place, but a living, breathing unfolding of possibility. You learn that your experience is not a script you are bound to follow, but a dance you can engage with creatively and freely. This shift changes not just how you see the world, but how you relate to yourself and others. It opens the door to deeper connection, compassion, and peace. It invites you to embrace paradox, the coexistence of uncertainty and trust, vulnerability and strength, loss and gain. In learning to hold these opposites together, you discover a new kind of freedom, one that does not depend on external circumstances, but flows from an inner alignment with truth and presence. And as you deepen into this new vision, you begin to notice how the world responds, not as a rigid place of resistance, but as a mirror reflecting your own willingness to soften, to heal, to grow. This invitation is ongoing, an ever-present call to look again, to see deeper, to open wider. It asks you to carry this new way of seeing into every moment, every interaction, every breath. And in doing so, you begin to live not from fear or separation, but from the expansive place of connection and love that has always been waiting beneath the surface. You come to understand that this invitation is not a one-time event, but a continual unfolding, a lifelong dance with uncertainty and grace. It asks you to trust the process even when the path seems unclear, to find peace in the midst of chaos, and to hold the tension of not knowing with gentle patience. You learn that every moment offers a chance to choose differently, to see with new eyes, to respond with an open heart, to move beyond the limiting stories that once defined you. And with each choice, the veil grows thinner, the cracks widen, and the light of a new vision shines brighter. This invitation to see differently is a sacred call to awaken from the trance of separation and to remember the truth of your interconnectedness. It reminds you that beneath the layers of fear and judgment, there is a vast, loving presence that is always available, always patient, always waiting for you to come home. And as you answer this call, as you step more fully into this new way of being, you begin to live with a profound sense of freedom, joy, and peace, a freedom not granted by the world, but discovered within. Transformation does not arrive with grand declarations or dramatic upheavals. Instead, it unfolds quietly, like a soft dawn gradually brightening the sky after a long night. It moves through the small moments, the gentle breath before a response, the subtle hesitation before a thought, the quiet space between one feeling and the next. It is in these tender intervals that change takes root, not as a sudden event, but as a slow, unfolding dance. You begin to sense a new rhythm within yourself, one that flows more gently, more freely, weaving itself through the fabric of your daily life. At times, this new rhythm feels fragile, like a delicate thread stretched taut between what was and what might be. Old patterns, deeply etched and familiar, tug insistently at your attention, whispering the stories you've known for so long. The mind, protective and wary, urges you to return to the safety of certainty, to the comfort of familiar fears and defenses. Yet, within this tension lies an invitation, a call to lean into the discomfort and listen closely to the quiet voice beneath the noise. It asks you to choose presence over reaction, to meet uncertainty with gentle curiosity rather than resistance. As you begin to live this shift, you notice the world itself seems to soften and open. The sharp edges of conflict dull, replaced by moments of unexpected tenderness and understanding. Conversations once filled with tension become opportunities for connection. Challenges that once provoked fear now offer invitations to growth. Even solitude becomes a sanctuary, a sacred space where you can return to yourself and remember your true nature beneath the layers of story and expectation. This phase of transformation is neither linear nor predictable. It is a winding path with moments of clarity followed by shadows of doubt, times of ease intertwined with waves of struggle. Yet each step, no matter how small, carries profound significance. You learn to walk gently with yourself, honoring your fears and setbacks as part of the journey, not signs of failure. You begin to cultivate patience, allowing the process to unfold in its own time, without force or judgment. With time, the new way of being begins to settle into your bones. The frantic grip of old habits loosens, and a spacious calm takes root. The endless chatter of the mind quiets, making room for a stillness that is alive and radiant. You discover that transformation is not about becoming someone new, but about remembering who you have always been, the vast, uncheckable presence beneath all fluctuation and change. Living the shift also reveals the deep interconnectedness of all things. You sense invisible threads weaving through your life, linking you to others and to the world in a tapestry of shared experience and mutual belonging. This awareness softens the boundaries between self and other, inviting greater compassion and empathy. Your heart expands, carrying both your own pain and joy, and those of the world around you in a tender embrace. This expanded vision brings a new kind of freedom, not born from control or certainty, but from trust and surrender. You begin to understand that true power arises not from resistance, but from alignment with life's natural flow. You find strength in vulnerability, courage in uncertainty, and peace in surrendering to what is. Presence becomes your anchor, a refuge to return to amidst life's ever-changing tides. It is the quiet center where you meet yourself fully, without pretense or defense. Here, the ordinary becomes sacred, the breath, the heartbeat, the simple awareness of being alive. And in this sacred space, transformation deepens, becoming less a goal to achieve and more a way of living with grace, openness, and authenticity. Living the shift is a continual dance, a weaving of light and shadow, struggle and ease, loss and renewal. It invites you to meet each moment with openness, to embrace the mystery rather than fear it. And as you do, the world reveals itself anew, full of possibility, beauty, and connection, beckoning you ever onward into the unfolding story of your own becoming. Each day offers new opportunities to deepen this living transformation. There are moments when the past calls out, when old wounds surface unexpectedly, testing your resolve. These moments are invitations in disguise, gentle teachers guiding you to greater compassion and understanding, not just for yourself, but for the shared humanity that connects us all. You learn that healing is not a destination, but a journey, one that asks for your full presence and courage. You discover that living the shift requires a willingness to hold paradox, the coexistence of joy and sorrow, strength and vulnerability, certainty and mystery. This balance is not found by pushing away discomfort, but by embracing it as an integral part of the whole. In learning to live with these tensions, you come to appreciate the richness and depth of life itself. Your relationship with time begins to change. The urgency to fix, to hurry, to achieve fades into a slower, more measured pace. You learn to honor the natural rhythms of your inner and outer worlds, recognizing that growth unfolds in seasons. There are moments of rapid change and times of quiet rest, each essential and sacred in its own way. As you continue to live this shift, your connection to the world deepens. The walls of separation soften, revealing a shared essence that flows beneath all appearances. This realization invites you to act from a place of love and empathy, to contribute to the healing and awakening of the world around you. Your life becomes a vessel for this larger purpose, woven with intention, presence, and heart. Ultimately, living the shift is about coming home to yourself, to others, to life in all its complexity and wonder. It is a sacred dance of surrender and awakening, a path marked by grace and resilience. And as you walk this path, you carry with you the quiet certainty that beneath every challenge, every doubt, every moment of fear, lies the enduring light of your true self, patiently waiting to be seen, embraced, and lived. As the old ways unravel and the shift takes root within, a new way of being begins to emerge, not forced or hurried, but naturally, like the slow unfurling of a delicate flower reaching toward the sun. This emergence is both subtle and profound, a blossoming of a self that is no longer bound by the chains of fear, doubt, or past conditioning. It is a self that breathes with freedom, moves with grace, and meets the world with an open heart. This new being is not a distant ideal, or a perfect version of yourself waiting to be attained. It is the essence of who you have always been beneath the layers of struggle and story. It is the clear, steady presence that watches thoughts come and go without attachment. The deep well of compassion that embraces both light and shadow. The quiet strength that stands firm amid uncertainty. Emergence is messy. It is not a clean break from the past, but a weaving together of what has been and what is becoming. Old patterns may still appear, but they no longer hold the same power. They become like echoes from the previous chapter, faint reminders of where they come from, but no longer the script you must follow. In this space, you find freedom to choose your response anew, moment by moment. With emergence comes a deepening trust, not only in yourself, but in the flow of life itself. You learn to surrender not out of resignation, but from a place of knowing that the universe moves with its own wisdom, and you are a part of that unfolding mystery. This trust invites you to lean into uncertainty with curiosity rather than fear, to open to possibility even when the path is unclear. This new way of being is alive with presence. You find joy in simple moments, a breeze on your skin, the sound of laughter, the quiet glow of a sunset. These moments become touchstones, reminders of the beauty and sacredness woven into the fabric of everyday life. You carry this awareness with you, letting it color your interactions, your decisions, your dreams. Emergence also deepens your connection to others. You see beyond surface differences to the shared essence that unites all beings. Compassion flows naturally, not as an effort, but as a natural expression of your expanded heart. Relationships shift from needing to be right or secure to a dance of mutual presence, respect, and understanding. In this space, you embrace paradox. You hold strength and vulnerability side by side. You accept that life includes both joy and pain, certainty and mystery. This acceptance brings peace, not because life is easier, but because you meet it with an open, resilient heart. The emergence of this new self is a continual unfolding and ever-deepening journey. It asks you to keep returning to presence, to keep choosing love over fear, openness over resistance. And in this ongoing dance, you come to embody a truth that is both timeless and immediate, that you are, always have been, and always will be whole, radiant, and free. This process is not without its challenges. There are moments when old fears and doubts rise up, when the familiar shadows of the past threaten to pull you back into old stories. Yet, even in these moments, you are learning to hold yourself with gentleness and patience, to greet these shadows not with judgment, but with understanding. You recognize that these are remnants of a former self, echoes that no longer define you, and you allow them to pass like clouds drifting across a vast sky. As this new being emerges, you begin to notice a deeper alignment within a harmony between your inner truth and the way you live your life. Decisions become clearer, actions flow with greater ease, and the noise of internal conflict begins to settle into a quiet, steady hum of peace. You become a conduit for the wisdom that arises not from thought, but from a place beyond thought, a space of stillness, presence, and deep knowing. In this unfolding, life itself feels more alive, more vibrant. You see the extraordinary in the ordinary, the sacred in the mundane. Each breath becomes a reminder of the miracle of being, each moment an opportunity to engage fully with the richness of existence. This awareness invites you to live with intention and grace, not because you must, but because it is your natural expression. Emergence also invites you to step into your role as a co-creator of your reality. With greater clarity and presence, you realize that your choices shape the world around you, and you begin to act with greater responsibility and love. This is not a heavy burden, but a joyful empowerment, a recognition that you are an integral thread in the vast tapestry of life. The new being that emerges is both deeply rooted and expansively free. It holds space for all aspects of experience, the light and the shadow, the known and the unknown, the transient and the eternal. It moves through the world with a quiet confidence born not of ego, but of connection to something far greater than itself. You begin to embody a spaciousness that invites others to breathe easier around you, a calm that ripples outward like gentle waves across still water. This presence becomes a quiet beacon, drawing not through force or persuasion, but through the simple power of authenticity and compassion. In your stillness, others find permission to soften, to open, to awaken. And so, this emergence is a sacred dance, an ongoing journey of awakening and becoming. It invites you to keep showing up, keep opening, keep trusting the process even when the path is unclear. It reminds you that you are never alone, that the source of all life flows through you and around you, carrying you forward into the unfolding mystery of who you truly are. You come to understand that this emergence is not just personal, but universal. It is the same process coursing through all life, the quiet unfolding of consciousness, the blooming of awareness, the awakening of love. In recognizing this, your own journey becomes a mirror reflecting the greater awakening of the world, and you find yourself woven into a larger story, one that transcends time and space. This realization fills you with humility and awe. You stand in wonder at the vastness of existence and the preciousness of each moment. You learn to carry both the lightness of joy and the depth of sorrow with equal grace, knowing that each feeds the other in the eternal dance of becoming. In this expanded presence, the boundaries between self and other begin to dissolve. You sense the unity beneath the apparent separation, the thread of life that connects all beings in a shared web of existence. This awareness moves you to act from a place of kindness and service, to live not just for yourself, but for the flourishing of all. And so you walk forward, sometimes steady, sometimes faltering, but always with a heart open wide and a spirit resilient. You carry with you the knowledge that emergence is not a destination, but a way of being, a continuous unfolding that invites you to live fully, deeply, and freely. At last, the journey brings you to a place of profound wholeness, not as a perfect or static state, but as a living, breathing experience of integration and acceptance. You realize that every fragment of your past, every wound and triumph, every shadow and light, has woven together to create the rich tapestry of your being. There is no part to reject or hide. All belongs, all has meaning. This wholeness is not a prize to be won or a destination to reach, but a natural unfolding of your true nature, a homecoming to yourself that has been waiting patiently beneath every fear, every story, every mask you have worn. In this wholeness, the urge to separate, to judge, to resist dissolves into a gentle unfolding of compassion and peace. You meet yourself and others without needing to fix or change, simply allowing what is to be present. This acceptance is not passive but deeply active, a conscious choice to honor the full spectrum of experience with grace and love. You come to understand that resistance only creates friction, while acceptance creates flow. And in this flow, you find the strength to hold both joy and sorrow, certainty and mystery, knowing that each serves the unfolding of your soul. You feel a deep sense of belonging to yourself, to others, and to the vast mystery of life itself. This belonging is not dependent on external conditions, but arises from a recognition of the interconnectedness that underlies all existence. You are part of a greater whole, a timeless dance of energy and consciousness that flows endlessly, inviting you to move with it rather than against it. This belonging is a quiet knowing that you are never truly alone, that your life is woven into the fabric of the cosmos, and that your essence is intertwined with every breath, every heartbeat, every moment that has ever been or will be. With wholeness comes a new freedom, the freedom to be fully alive, fully yourself, without masks or defenses. You no longer need to prove your worth or earn love. You are inherently enough, complete in your essence. This freedom allows you to live with courage and authenticity, embracing both the joy and uncertainty that life offers. You discover that freedom is not the absence of constraint, but the presence of peace within constraint, the choice to dance gracefully within the rhythms of life rather than struggle against them. The path of wholeness is not a destination, but an ongoing unfolding. It calls you to continually deepen your awareness, to meet each moment with openness, and to extend the compassion you have found within outward to the world. Your life becomes a reflection of this truth, a beacon of presence, kindness, and wisdom. You learn that your own healing ripples outward, touching others and the world in ways both seen and unseen. Each act of kindness, each moment of presence, each breath of acceptance becomes a thread in the vast tapestry of collective awakening. In embracing wholeness, you discover that the greatest transformation is the awakening to your own infinite nature. You realize that beneath all stories, all fears, and all limitations lies a boundless light, a wellspring of peace that cannot be touched by the shifting tides of circumstance. This light is your true self-eternal, radiant, and free. It is the quiet center that remains untouched by chaos, the stillness beneath the waves, the eternal flame that burns gently in the heart of all that is. You come to understand that wholeness is not about perfection, but about embracing the fullness of your humanity, the beauty and the brokenness, the light and the shadow, the laughter and the tears. It is a sacred invitation to live deeply and fully, to welcome every experience as a teacher and every moment as a gift. This wholeness is not separate from the world, but deeply woven into it, a dance of connection and contribution that calls you to be both rooted and expansive. And so you walk forward, not as someone who has arrived, but as one who continuously returns to presence, to love, to the unfolding mystery of life. With each step, you embody the truth that wholeness is not something to attain, but something to remember, something always available, always present, waiting patiently for your recognition and embrace. You carry within you the quiet confidence that no matter the storms you face, the light of your true self cannot be extinguished. This journey of wholeness teaches you that life is not about fixing what is broken, but about seeing with new eyes that behold the world and yourself with wonder, compassion, and grace. You learn to cherish the impermanence of all things, to find joy in the ebb and flow, and to trust in the mystery that carries you beyond what the mind can grasp. In this sacred space of wholeness, you come to know that your essence is beyond the stories you tell, beyond the identities you have worn, beyond the fleeting moments of success or failure. You are the vastness in which all experiences arise and dissolve, the unchanging presence beneath the dance of form. This recognition is a liberation that sets you free to live with openness, creativity, and love. And so, with a heart wide open and a spirit unbound, you step into each new day, embracing the fullness of your being and the infinite possibilities that life offers. You become a living expression of wholeness, a radiant presence in a world that longs for healing, light, and truth.